So let's start with this. You got these two red points. Would you draw this little picture for me right now? Just draw it on your iPad. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to turn it my way, show me that you've done it. Because I need you to get the difference between making a straight line through 2 points and making a parabola that goes through 2 points. We had a whole lesson on this where almost the whole lesson was making the parabola through the 2 points. But I'll review it again today. So for this black line, I have y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. That's the equation for that black line that goes through those 2 points. Now we're starting to stack up some things that you'd need to know. Like you'd need to know that formula. Now, I want you to hear me really clearly. You do not get a note card for this test. You do not get a note card for this test. But one of the best ways to study is with a note card, as in a flashcard. And so I'm going to encourage you to make a flashcard for yourself, where on one side it has a problem, and on the other side it has how you do it. Now you might be like, oh, I take notes, I'm fine. And you can just use your notes. I can't make you use something that's been proven to be better, but it has been proven to be better. Okay, so I'd like you to take 2 of these little cards as they come around, and these are for you to make like little flashcards for yourself. So take 2, pass it on, take 2, pass it on. 2, take 2. And this would be one of the things that I think a lot of you may not have memorized, and that would be this equation. And if you've already got it memorized, awesome. But then right before the test, wouldn't it be cool if you had one little card you could like go look at really quick right before you took the test? You know what I mean? And it had this equation on it. And it would also have this equation, the equation for the parabola. I would also put that on that card. Where are the cards? There they are. Keep moving. Take 2, moving on. People need to write on these right now. Y equals a x minus, and what goes in that is the vertex. And so I'm going to put it h and k, and then I'm going to write vertex as h and k. That's how you do it when it's the parabola. All right, so let's get some actual numbers for this. So let's say this is 1, 2, and let's say this is 4, 5. You got to get caught up here. Get some scratch paper out and copy that down, please. Okay, so these are 2 of the things I would want to like last second cram right before I took the test, which is tomorrow. All right. Now, some kids are taking the test today, so at least we have an extra review day compared to them. And there are some kids who are taking the test on Friday, but they got behind because their teacher was out sick and stuff. So, okay. So anyway, here's our final like notes page for this. So if I was going to actually put in the numbers underneath it, I think that'd be really smart. This would be y minus, and what's one of the y values? Let's just take this one right here. Would you agree that that 2 is a y value? Y minus 2 equals m, maybe I'll figure that out in a minute, x minus the x value was 1. Do you get how I just put this point in? And then how do you get the slope between these two? The slope is where you subtract the y's over you subtract the x's. So here's my subtract the y's, 5 minus 2. I'll just write it in there for you so it's really good notes. 5 minus 2 over 4 minus 1. And that simplifies down to y minus 2 equals 5 minus 2 is 3 over 4 minus 1 is 3 times x minus 1. There's my equation. For a line that goes through this point, I'll highlight it. This point, careful, notice how there's negatives on it? So then that's actually the point 1 comma 2. You don't use the negatives. See, that came from this point right here. And the slope was 3 over 3, which is really equal to 1, right? So I really ought to change that 3 over 3 to a 1. You wouldn't even have to write a 1 in there, but if I don't put something there, people are going to be like, the slope just disappeared. Technically, you wouldn't have to have the 1 there. All right, there's how to write a line through 2 points. How about, what if it's a parabola? Now, I'm going to move over because this got kind of messy. 1, 2, and 4, 5 are my 2 points. 1 comma 2, 4 comma 5. And now if I want a parabola through those, where that 1 comma 2 is the vertex, then I just go y equals, and I know what these look like, x minus, and then the x of it is a 1, squared plus 2. You get how I got this from the vertex? And now the only thing I don't know is the letter A. So I'm going to put an A right here. And so far, have I used the 4 comma 5 at all? Did I ever use the 4 or the 5? No, so this is the time to use it. Dominic, where do you think I should put it? 4 in the X spot. And 5 in the Y spot. So this is 5 equals A, 4 minus 1, squared plus 2. Simplify that and solve that. Everybody, please take out a pencil, something you could use to write on those 2 little cards. And I'll tell you specifically what I would write on the card. I wouldn't take all those notes, like all of it on the card, but can you borrow a pencil? I have a whole cup full of them up here. Come on up and grab one out of the cup if you need one. Mason, can you find a pencil, please? Then, final answer here, 5 equals A, but there's a number on it. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Notice me putting the 9 in front of it. And that came from the 4 minus 1, but then squared. And then plus 2. Then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I get 3 equals 9A. I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And I get 1/3 equals A. Raise your hand if you had 1/3 equals A. Cool. Now, do you get, it would be really easy for a kid to stop right there and forget that the whole point was to write this equation, but with the 1/3 in it. So how do you finish this thing? Everybody, please, write underneath that, write the final equation with the 1/3 in it. Because that's how you finish. You are asked to write an equation for a parabola, and so far we don't have it yet. This is close. It's vertex form of a parabola, but it didn't have the a in it. So final answer, y equals 1/3 x minus 1 squared plus 2. Okay, now on that card, the thing that I think so far I would do for a little note card, write on your card this one. And you could say linear after it, because that means straight line. On this kind, on the parabola kind, I would say parabola with a vertex. Actually, let's probably keep them both minuses or something, both pluses or something. Let's use both pluses. There. And then you'd say the vertex of it was, careful, not 2, 4. What's the vertex here? What's the vertex here? -2, 4. Those are two things I'd have on my little sheet, and that you can use to cram last second, brush up, get ready for this test. Okay, I'll keep on doing like practice problems with you, but then I'll go off to the side and say, here's what I'd put on my little study card. Okay, and I think if you use that study card to just brush up right before we take the test, of course, if you're using it during the test, it would be considered cheating, and I have to tear up your test, and you get a 0 on it, which is no fun. You could probably, yeah, that would be no fun for any of us. All right, so next kind is factoring. There's a ton of factoring on this test, and I don't think you need to put that on your card, unless there's a kind of factoring that you are just terrible at. Let's say you always got this kind of factoring wrong. You've gotten it wrong every time. Well, then I'd put it on the card. If you know how to do it, though, you should be like, boom. Rissy, do you know what it is? Yeah, once you know how to do it, it's like, boom. So easy. All right. But don't even change, like, your problem. Just write a number in front of it. What if there was a 25 here? Then you can just put something in your factors. Everybody think for a second and try to think of what you'd change here. Sophia, what do you think we'd change? Yes, 5x and 5x. Okay. So again, if this is your kryptonite, you always get these wrong, make an example like it on your little study card, because then right before the test, you can remind yourself how that works. Okay, here's another thing that tons of kids struggle with. Factoring out the super dense ones. Like, for example, 9x squared minus 3x minus 6. This is hard because you got to figure out the GCF and take it out first. Then you got to say 2 parentheses. Then you got to figure out the signs. And last, you got to figure out the numbers. All right, I'm going to pause for a second and just give you a moment to factor. Okay, and I do have a copy, so remind me at the end of the hour. So if you're going to be gone tomorrow, I can put a copy of the test in the testing room for you. If you know you're going to be gone tomorrow, let me know. Because I'm going to be gone next week. This is the first you're hearing about this. Monday and Tuesday of next week. There is going to be a lesson and everything. I'm going to record it, put it up on YouTube, and put a link there. And your teacher will play the lesson while I'm gone. So you'll do stuff, but I will be gone. And so making up a test would be much easier if I put it in the testing room. Okay, so if you're missing a test, the test tomorrow, let me know. Okay, so let's factor out the 3. Claire, what'd you get when you factored out the 3? Just the 3 part.
3x squared and then minus 4x.
Yep. Nice. Then I do it again. Ethan T. What do you have for your 2x things here and here?
Oh, I did 3x plus 2 and x.
Wait, 3x and over here?
X.
That's how I always do it, is start with that. And then I do my signs. Can you tell me what signs should go here and here?
Oh, I did plus and a minus.
A plus and a minus, because this one's negative. It has to be a plus and a minus, all right? And the last 2 numbers?
And I did 2 and 1.
2 and 1. Now you gotta check it. Just because you have a system that was a good system, as long as you check it, because the 2 and 1 might be backwards. So Ethan, help me. What do these 2 make when you multiply them out?
Negative 3x.
Yep. What do these 2 make when you multiply them out?
2x.
And when you put those together, you get negative x. Perfect. Now I know you're right. See, there's kids that think, if I did all the steps right, then it'll automatically work. No, it could have been a 1 and a 2 instead of a 2 and a 1. You got to check it. I'm not going to grade it that you have to multiply it back out, but I'm going to say kids that do multiply it back out are smart. When I see that, I'm like, oh, this kid's going to nail the test because they're multiplying them out. They'll know if they're right. Okay, cool. How about this one? What if you have to solve something? I shouldn't say solve, sorry. What if you have to find the axis of symmetry? This would be one to put on the card right now. It's worthy. What's that? There's a little formula for the axis of symmetry. You either know it or you don't. This will not be given to you on the test. Write it on the card. Nunez, you got it on the card already? It's worth it. You'll thank yourself the 5 minutes you take right before the test where you're like, last second looking these up. X equals, Tully, you got this?
Is it negative b over 2a?
It is. Then, for the vertex, let's also write that on the card. We're going to say x is negative b over 2a again, because that's what it is. And then now that you're older and smarter than the first time I taught you this, I'm going to write it this way. You stick it in the function, so you say f of negative b over 2a. You stick that negative b over 2a thing in the function. Okay, so now I'm going to give you one that'll have a nice vertex. Two seconds of just making sure this one works. Y equals x squared minus 2x plus 4. Everybody find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. Okay, axis of symmetry is the axis of symmetry. X equals negative b, which is negative of negative 2. I know, they cancel, but I'm showing you how you really technically are doing it. You're having negative b, and then b is negative 2. See? And then over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. So then simplify it. X equals positive 2 over 2, which is 1. Raise your hand if you had y equals 1, or x equals 1. Okay, cool. That's the axis of symmetry. So if I was going to sketch this right now, I'd already know that at 1, the dotted line runs like this, and I know it's a right side up parabola because there's no negative in the front. So I don't know, somewhere wherever the vertex is, that'll tell me, how high this thing is, but it looks something like that. Okay, now you go take the 1, stick it back in the equation to do f of it, and I got a 1 here and a 1 here, and I'll get 1 comma, Anna, did you already get it done?
Yeah, -5.
All right, I'm getting 1 minus 2 plus 4. Don't think that makes -5. See what I did? I put in the 1 here and here. 1 minus 2 plus 4. So 1 minus 2, oh, I think I know it. I think you got the negative mixed up when you did the 1 and the 4. So -1 plus 4 is 3. Did anybody else get 3? Okay, good. 1 comma 3 is our vertex. So turns out my graph is actually up here because it's up 3. So, all right. Next thing, 2 more weird kinds of factoring. Negative in front. You have to know how to do this. Negative x squared minus 3x plus 4. Factor that. Okay, then you have a -1 that comes out. Dance, can you factor out just the -1 for me?
Yes.
Greta, can you shut the door over there? I'm hearing a little hall noise. X squared
X squared
plus 3x minus 4. Awesome. Why do you need to do that? Because otherwise, if you try to factor this thing, you'd have like a -x like this, and that does not work. Don't do that. That would not be called factored form. You've got to factor the -1 out like we did. Now, you got to leave that in your answer and get the final answer. If you haven't already factored it all the way, factor it the rest of the way. Arrow, what'd you get? Okay, I'll come back to you on a different one. Dominic, what'd you get?
We got
X plus 4, X minus 1 is correct. Okay, good. Another weird kind of factoring. Now, if you have gotten these wrong almost every time, maybe you should put one of those on your card to remind yourself how to do that. Now, if you're the kind who gets them right all the time, don't put it on the card. I'm a big believer in writing down things that you aren't good at. I know that those formulas are things that kids aren't good at, but most of you can do this, so most of you don't need to write this down. All right, here's another kind that is some people's kryptonite. Factor that. It's only got 2 things. So a lot of people will notice the X. A lot of other people will notice the 4, but only the people who really get this will get that it was a 4X that comes out. George, what did you get then for the rest of the answer?
4, X plus 4X.
Now, to make sure you're right with me, multiply it out. What's 4X times X?
4X squared.
Good, so that was right. What's 4X times 4X?
What is that, 16X?
Yeah, but 4X times 4X isn't 16X. It's 16X
Shoot,
squared.
it's 4X.
Okay, exactly. So do you get why I think you should always multiply them out at the end? It would have saved you right there. So always multiply them out. Make sure you don't make that mistake. All right, cool. Okay, so I think I feel like we've covered everything that we would absolutely have to know between yesterday and today. I think you're going to be in a good place. So now it just depends on you and whether or not you feel like you're in a good place. So I'm gonna open up there's 2 Schoology quizzes. One of them is on factoring. You were supposed to have that one done yesterday. I'd like you to all look at your factoring quiz on Schoology right now. And you're either done with it or you're not. And if you are done with it, if you made any mistakes, then I'm gonna have to say, you need to fix those, because factoring is all over this test. All right, so everybody look at that factoring quiz, make sure it's done. I don't wanna have to do this, but if you aren't working on it and finishing it up in the next like 5 minutes, then I'm gonna be calling off who needs to get it done. You should know whether you finished it or not. Factoring quiz should be done in like 5 minutes. Then the other one is kind of the rest of the review. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post another thing that you could do. This is optional. This last thing is like, I really want an A in this class. I wanna do some of those extra optional practice problems. All right, so for right now, I'm gonna be done with our review lesson for today. I'm gonna post that, and you should watch it. If you wanted a good review of today, you could go back and rewatch the video of the class that we just did, even though you were in it. You could totally do that if you needed a way to review. All right, that's all I have for you for today.